Do you want to play PlayStation 1 games on your Android device? Then this video is for you. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up and install DuckStation on your Android. Let's jump right into this. So for today's video, I'm using the Samsung Galaxy S9, just so you have a frame of reference for the rest of the video. So the first thing we need to do is open up our Play Store. And once your Play Store is open, we're going to be searching for DuckStation. We're going to be looking for this right here. This is our free PS1 emulator. Simply click install, and then DuckStation is going to install. While we're on our Play Store, we're also going to be searching for ZArchiver, which is a file management tool we'll be needing a bit later to extract our games. So we're going to make sure we have both of these installed first. So I have both of my apps downloaded on my home screen here. The first thing we're going to be doing is opening up ZArchiver, and we're going to be talking about games and BIOS files. Now for all PlayStation 1 emulators on Android and PC, you are going to need a BIOS file that will basically work as a system file that will allow you to emulate PlayStation 1 games. Now sadly, I cannot show you where to find one. However, a quick Google search will help you out, or you can create a dump of your existing PlayStation 1 BIOS. And if you download your file, it will most likely come in a .bin file, and it will be named scph and some string of numbers, depending on the file you get, and this is what it will look like. So we will be needing this for DuckStation a little bit later, but the first thing you'll need to do is get your PlayStation 1 BIOS file. We're next going to be talking about games, and the same with the BIOS file. Sadly, I cannot show you where to download games. You'll either need to source your own games and download them, or create a backup of your existing games. However, if you get your games, they can come in a couple different formats, but most likely when you download your games, they will come in a .7-zip or a .rar format, and we will first need to extract these out before we can bring them over to DuckStation. That's where ZArchiver comes in. You can see I currently have a couple of games here in a 7-zip format. I'm going to be using Legacy of Kain here as an example. I'm going to be clicking it. I'm going to be clicking extract ... We're then going to have to select the destination folder. I'm going to be leaving it here, and I'm going to be clicking the button on the bottom right, and our file is going to extract. I would recommend doing extract ... as most likely your PlayStation 1 games will come in multiple bin and Q files. And in this case, I'd rather extract it into its own folder. So extract ... should do that in this case. Now my game is extracted out here. It's currently in a folder. And inside this, it's a combination of a .bin and a .q file. And this will work within DuckStation. So your games will typically come in a .bin and a .q file, sometimes in a .iso format file. Both of these should work fine. However, in this case, for this game, it's a .bin and a .q file. I would recommend keeping all of your games in individual folders as mentioned. In my opinion, it's just a bit easier to manage like that. And now we have our games and our BIOS file ready. Once we have everything we need, we're going to be launching DuckStation for the first time. So I'm going to be clicking this open. And here we're going to have to run through a few settings. So the first thing you can do is select the language if you want. It should automatically detect the system language. So in this case, it's going to use English by default. For the theme of the app, it should do the same thing as well. But I'm just going to be making sure it's set the dark theme here. Then I'm going to be clicking next on the bottom right. Here we're then going to be running through a couple of settings. The GPU renderer by default will be automatic. Automatic will work just fine. I am going to be trying to set mine to Vulkan, however. If you are having issues, you can always switch back to OpenGL, but in this case, I'm going to be testing out Vulkan in today's video. For the internal resolution, depending on the hardware that you're running on your Android device, you can set this up a little bit higher. For today's video, I'm going to be going 5x to 1080p. This is one of the first things I'd recommend turning down if you are noticing any frame rate issues or you are having any slowness or lagging in your games. For the aspect ratio, I'd recommend leaving it on automatic game native, so each game will handle this automatically. If you would like to stretch your game to fill up your full screen, you can set it to auto match display. However, this can stretch content and make your game look a bit weird. So I'd recommend leaving it on 4:3 by default or auto game native. Either of these will work just fine. Underneath screen orientation, we do have a couple of options. I'm actually going to be forcing it into landscape. So if I rotate my screen, it will not automatically move around. However, if you use the device setting, it should flip automatically, but here you can choose whatever option you would prefer. If you do have a notch or a cutout on your screen, you can extend the cutout area. I do not have one, so I'm going to be leaving that checked off. And finally, we have the geometry correction. This will only work if you have a hardware render, so OpenGL or Vulkan. So this will only work with more higher end Android devices, but if you do have a more higher end device, you can test this out. I'm going to be trying it in today's video. It can be an option that can help your games look a bit better. We're going to be clicking next again on the bottom right, and here we'll need to set up our BIOS file. This is what we had set up a bit earlier, so we're going to be importing BIOS here. And then we're going to have to locate to where our BIOS is downloaded. So I have my PlayStation BIOS here. I'm going to be clicking it, clicking OK. And then my BIOS file will be imported. Click next. We're then going to have to set up a game directory, or you can set up multiple game directories if you want. Plus button here on the bottom right. And then we're going to have to locate to where our games are. I currently have all my games here. I'm going to be clicking use this folder, click allow. And then this is going to select this folder. Keeping your games in an SD card is also perfectly fine here. I'm doing it in today's video. Click next on the bottom right. If you do have a retro achievements account and would like to track your achievements, you can log in here. It's not something I have, but it is a nice option with this video. Click next. And then finally, all of your setup will be complete. We're going to be clicking the finish button here. And now all of our games are going to import, and this can take a couple seconds. Now I do want to take a moment, if you've gotten this far in today's video, to ask if you can hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so it would really help me out. Let's get back to the video. So now we can see all of our games are loaded here. Here you can choose between a list and a thumbnail view. Before we actually load a game, there are a couple of other settings we can set up. We're going to be clicking on the three lines here on the left. We're going to be coming to app settings, and we're going to be running through a couple things. The first thing I wanted to point out was the post-processing options here. If we enable this, we will be able to add a shader. And here there are a couple of options of shaders that you can set up for your emulator. I'm not really a big fan of these, so I'm going to be leaving it off. However, if you would want to experiment with some of the CRT shaders or some different things to make your games look a bit more like an original CRT device, that is an option. And there are a couple of other things here that can be cool to play around with. I'm not going to be diving into them in today's video, but that is an option here as well. Underneath system, there are a couple things you can take a look at. The first two things here you can try to experiment with are the fast forward boot and the fast forward memory card access. Depending on the game, this can speed up certain loading times, so it can be something you can enable here. Results can vary a bit between the games that you're trying, but they are two cool options to enable. And then at the very bottom of system, one thing you can take a look at here is the enable rewinding option. This will basically allow you to rewind in your games, which is really cool. You can set up a rewind limit. So by default, it is 10 seconds. It can be very demanding on your hardware, as it mentions here. So if you're on a lower end system, this is not something you should try out. But later we can set up a hotkey for this that will allow you to rewind your games, which is a really cool option. Underneath the graphics tab, what we can also take a look at here is texture filtering. By default, it will be set to nearest neighbor. However, I'm going to be changing mine to bilinear. This can make games look a bit better. And then finally, we're coming all the way over here to advanced. And underneath GPU settings, I'm going to be setting up my multi-sample anti-aliasing from disabled to 8x. Again, if you're on lower end systems, these are going to be the first few things that we're going to be turning off. From this point, I have all the settings set up that I want to set up. We're going to be clicking back on the top left. And now we're going to be setting up a controller before we load into a game. To do this, again, we're going to be clicking on the three lines here on the top left. We're then going to be coming to controller settings right here. We're going to be coming to the port 1 option here, and we're going to be setting up a controller. So what I'm going to be doing is grabbing my Xbox Series controller here. And underneath controller type, I'm going to be setting up as an analog controller or DualShock controller, which our Xbox controller will be. And then we're going to try to set up automatic mapping. Depending on the controller you're doing, you will be able to do this. What we need to do is select this. Select the controller we want to use, which is the Xbox wireless controller, and then we'll automatically map it. Depending on the controller you're using, this will actually be perfect, and here in this case it is. However, if this doesn't automatically work, we can individually map each button. So for example, we can select something, D-pad up, press the up on our controller, and then it will map to that button, and you'll need to go through and map each one of your buttons. And just like that, we have our controller set up. Just to mention and keep in mind, we also have the hotkeys here. Depending on the controller you're using, if you have extra buttons, you can come in here and set up some hotkeys. As mentioned earlier with the rewind option, it will need to be mapped to something for this to work. So you can come in here and set up any hotkey options that you would like for your games as well. From this point, we're going to be backing out of here again, and we're going to be loading up a game. I'm going to be loading up Legacy of Kain right here, and here it will mention 8x MSAA is not supported. It will use 4 instead. That's no problem. It will automatically do that. And just like that, you can see my game is going to load up here, and it will automatically work with my controller as well. Now we can see all of our touchscreen options here on screen, and we can see that it will work as well. However, if you would like to edit anything, we can open up our on-screen menu by clicking the pause button here on the top right. Here, if we click our control button on the top right, we can click on touchscreen. Here we can get access to all of our touchscreen options, change the type, change the layout. We can move, scale our buttons, tap to hold, and a bunch of other things. If you would like to move your buttons around, we can click this. Select any button you want and you can drag and move it. It does work within some sort of invisible grid here, so it's nice, so it won't work too crazy. And here you can set up your buttons to do exactly what you want. So here we can click edit menu. We can then add or remove buttons. So here you can even add additional buttons. So for example, fast forward, rewind, quick save, and a few other things. And here will automatically be added. So fast forward is a bit hidden down here in the bottom middle. And the rewind button is also hidden here a bit in the bottom left. But here you can set this up exactly how you want. Our save states button will be on the top left. And here you can go through and add and set up whatever buttons you want. You can change the opacity here to make your buttons more or less visible. I'm going to be setting it to 100%. Once you're happy with everything, we can click the edit menu here again, click exit editor, and now all of our options will be saved. And now our on-screen controls are going to be set up and saved exactly how you like. Using an external controller is still going to be my preference here, but either of these options will work just fine. And here you can go through and set it up exactly how you want. And you can see just like that, my game is going to be up and running. Anyway guys, it's as easy as that to set up and play PlayStation 1 games on your Android device. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. Subscribe if you're new, check out the other videos on the channel. Until next time guys, as always, keep it saucy. Peace.